So now we're going to start roughing in our wall heaters, our carbon panels. In order to do that, we need to first get our plan and work out which heaters we have going where, and then we've got to work out where in the final build all of our aspects will be. So for this sauna, we're doing a false floor, like a duckboard flooring, so we're going to lose about 40 mil of floor. So I'm going to take my measuring tape, I'm going to account for all of the different levels. Our bench timber is going to be 450 mil to the top of the bench off the floor. So we've got 40 plus our 450 is 490. So our bench height will be about there. So then I'm going to add another 50 mil for the gap between the bench and the top heater, or the bottom of the heater. So we're at 540 mil. So now I know that 540 mil above current floor height is going to be the bottom of my heaters. All of my heaters are going to be 640 mil to the top, all the way around. So I've got within this space here to rough in my cabling. I've also marked out where my heaters are going to go. So I have 2 heaters across this wall. I've got 2 heaters on that wall, 1 heater on this wall, and 2 heaters on this wall. So I'm going to go ahead and mark out where I want to put my cable, and I'm going to put some stud brackets in there behind just to help locate the cables. So we've laid out all of our heaters. Now we need to decide the location for our power supply. We're going to be putting our power supply low on the wall just here at the end of one of the benches. So I need to work out which circuits I'm running to which heaters and then find a path. So I'm going to go around and I'm going to drill holes through the studs, all of them leading back to that point. I also want to include the rough end for the wall controller. So our wall controller is going on the wall here. So I need to make sure I have a path separate from the power cables that will allow my control cable to make its way up and into the wall. It's also best to avoid running it behind the back of any heaters if you can. So I'm going to run mine up and across on a height, so it will avoid the heaters we have low on the walls. While we're also doing that, we're going to run in cables from the power supply to the lights, the full spectrum circuit in the ceiling, and the speakers in the ceiling. So I'm going to do the same thing with the speakers as I did with the control cable, making sure to completely separate them from the power cables so we don't get any interference on that. Now that all of our isolation's in place, we're going to go around, mark out and cut out all of our cables, bringing them through before we start putting on the cedar, just to make finding them easier. We did use metal brackets in the wall, so we could use a magnet afterwards to find them once the cedar's gone on, but for the sake of this, we're going to cut these out now. So once you find the brackets, mark that out, and I'm just going to cut the insulation inside the bracket. And fish that cable through. So now we're up to installing the carbon heaters on this wall. So we've got our 2 heaters set out so we can work out our location. These heaters are designed to fit quite snugly along this wall, so we're going to have basically no gap in between them in the sides. So we've left 35mm gap on each end, which is nearly the depth of the heater on the other walls. So our first step will be to connect up the heaters. So on this wall, in this sauna, we're using Legos. So we've got a 5-core Wago that we're going to use to connect our cables coming through and the cables on the back of our heater. So we want to make sure that these are twisted and trimmed down. Putting our 2 neutrals in. And our 2 actives. Now, because these have a bar in the back of them to support the slats along the long edge, we're going to flip this over because the termination is on this side of that bar. So now we're going to take the tape off the back here that's holding the cables in place. Now on this particular heater we have black and red cabling. The heaters themselves are not polarity sensitive, so it won't actually matter which connection we put them in, but for the interest of this I'm going to put the red in the red and the black in the black. Just going to make it a little bit shorter. Strip off the outer layer. Give that a twist. Slip them inside the Wago. So we flip up that leg, tuck it in, it's nice and tight. Same on this one. Alright, now that is fit off. So we're going to push that back into the wall cavity behind the paper. It's nice and secure in there. Just feed a little bit of the excess cable in. So now we're going to fix the heaters back to the wall. For that, we're going to use the countersink bit to pre-drill the frames, and then use a stainless steel square head screw to fix it back. So normally we will put the fastening screws at the top slat and the bottom slat in the center of the outside bar. So with the level and the pencil, so I make sure that they're at the same height in the center. Down the bottom. Pre-drill those. I'm going to change over to the square drive bit. I'm going to start by just screwing in my screws halfway, so they're in the frame but they're not coming out the back. Now we're going to install these heaters flush up against each other and 35mm from each wall at the same height as the heater here. So one way we can do that is bring this up using our level across the two heaters. Make sure that we are at the right height and that we are level. Which is perfect. Now I should have 35mm the side. I've got 30. I'm going to bring it over a little bit. Make sure my level's still good. Here's my 35mm. So I can put my first two screws in place, and then do the same with the second heater. Just going to flush there. And level. And then just do the rest of the screws up. And it's done.